But much of the topic of conversation on the show yesterday was, should the Browns add Jadeveon Clowney? He's out there on the market looking for $17-18 million a year. The Browns have the cap space. Here are your 5 highest cap space available teams, Spiels. Browns, $37 million. Redskins, $36 million. Lions, $29 million. Eagles, $25 million. Bengals, $24 million. Of that group, you know them all well. You know the Bengals, you know the Browns, you know the Redskins. Did a bunch of their games. You certainly know the Lions. You've done Eagles games recently, so you know the personnel. Should any of those 5 be chasing Jadeveon Clowney?
Well, first of all, one thing in common with those 5, not one of them had a winning record.
No.
So I'm talking about.
That's why they need Jadeveon Clowney.
With the most cap space, right?
Yeah.
I think I love Jadeveon Clowney. I don't love him at $17 or $18 million a year. I think he's a really good player.
Mm-hmm.
He's really good, but he's not that. And if he was that, we would hear about is Jadeveon Clowney, like we hear about Khalil Mack, or like we hear about Von Miller, or we hear about his teammate, J.J. Watt. So I would look at adding him, absolutely. Pass rushers are a premium. I think Jadeveon does a lot of good things. The only problem he's had is he's had injury issues. Right?
Yes, he has had injury issues.
Started out at Houston, was up in Seattle.
Did he missed his whole first year? I think he did. He played 13. I don't think he's ever played 16 games.
So
that's 3 sacks in 13 games last year. So 13 games with Seattle
for Seattle. So when you look at that, now I don't know if he was injured and playing hurt and trying to do his job the best he can. So, there might be bonus points there for toughness. But why am I paying a guy that if the numbers don't back it up? And let me ask you this. Would he have already been on 2 different teams if he was all that?
No, because Von Miller hasn't been on 2 different teams.
That's my point.
Myles Garrett hasn't been on 2 different teams. There's a reason why. There's a reason why. Yeah. And the guy's paid a ton of money. He was the number 1 overall draft pick. Now, I don't think anybody could say Jadeveon Clowney's a bust. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler.
No, it's not a bust.
So last year, here are the numbers. I said 3 sacks. Okay, well, 3 sacks in 13 games. The guy's a bum. No, he had 4 forced fumbles and he scored 2 touchdowns. Yeah. So he makes things happen.
Quarterback pressures, all that stuff you can look at. I guess the point is, without really looking at him, okay, how does he fit into my particular defense that I want to run? I think Jadeveon Clowney could be a great upgrade for a lot of teams. I think the Bengals would love to have a player with Jadeveon Clowney, which they basically redid their whole defense. Besides Joe Burrow and the Higgins, they took in the 2nd round, the wide receiver. They went mostly defense, I believe. And, Sam Hubbard is a nice little player, but you think that Jadeveon Clowney would be an upgrade from Sam Hubbard?
Well, I think he'd be an upgrade from Sam Hubbard, but I think Sam Hubbard's a really good player.
I'm not saying he isn't or isn't. I'm just looking at, okay, we're always trying to get better, right? I mean, that was my motto as a player. They're trying to draft somebody that's going to beat me out, and that's the responsibility of a general manager or a head coach who's ever in charge of the draft, to try to get people that's better than what he has.
All right,
it doesn't matter.
Here's the option you have as the Cleveland Browns GM, Andrew Berry. You have Olivier Vernon on the team at $15 million for the coming season. Highest paid base salary, okay? So if they cut him before week 1, they owe him nothing. And there's no cap hit. So you could take his money and convert it to Clowney. Well, Vernon looked great in a preseason game last year. He was okay. He didn't have a terrible year.
He's average, Bruce. He's average. He had 1 or 2 good years for the Giants.
Okay.
You'd
cut him and go after Clowney.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Not even a question. Now
are they that dirty pool if they cut Olivier Vernon at this late date?
Did they give him a signing bonus? I'm sure they did.
Back then, when they signed it.
That's
okay.
That's your guaranteed money. Everybody knows the rules.
It's not personal, Olivier. It's
training camp hasn't started. He'll find a job somewhere. Yeah. Look, I think he was on a downswing in New York 2 years ago. Is he $15 million a year pass rusher? Are you getting that out of him?
He's not highest paid player on the team.
Are you
quality?
Okay. So I have a younger player who's still looking for a home,
Mhm.
who's a 3-time Pro Bowler. Now, some of those Pro Bowls are reputation only, but
Yeah.
all those guys are great players that make the Pro Bowl.
You're not a stiff if you make the Pro
No.
Bowl.
So, to me, would I look at it? Yeah, but I would wait for Jadavion's price to go down, because if he's been sitting out there this long at 17 or 18 million dollars a year, what the market is telling him that you're too expensive. I'm not ready to buy yet.
Well, the
You agree
Seattle,
with that?
yes, I do. There's a reason why he's out there.
Yeah.
The Seattle Seahawks had him, and they don't appear to be willing to go there. Adam Schefter says the Browns have offered him the most money. I don't. Maybe Clowney doesn't think the Browns are ready to win. Joe Woods, the Browns' new defensive coordinator, did a teleconference yesterday, a Zoom teleconference, and he was asked about Jadeveon Clowney, and I don't know that he gushed about Jadeveon Clowney, but you could definitely tell he was very intrigued about Jadeveon Clowney.
Again, I mean, you get a guy that potentially can be a dominant force. But I like the question that you asked me. If it was that simple, now I don't know the other salary cap ramifications, but it's that simple.
It's pretty clean on the Vernon side.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I say $15 million. I can spend that $15 million on Jadeveon Clowney. Now, here's the thing. I don't think I'd pay Jadeveon Clowney $18 million to be my number one pass rusher. But since I have Myles Garrett, and since he's been reinstated, Jadeveon Clowney becomes a lot better because I have Myles Garrett on the other
and
side.
Myles Garrett becomes a lot better because
Yeah.
so that's
and I've already seen what Olivier Vernon is with Myles
Yeah.
Garrett, and it wasn't transformative.
That's that to me, that's a lot of teams are trying to do that, get 2 stud defensive ends because of the pressure that it puts on offensive lines.
Now,
I mean,
Browns signed Adrian Claiborne in the offseason, so he's a nice number 3 rotational
yeah,
guy.
he's really good rotational guy.
Former Iowa Hawkeye.
Yeah, really good player at Iowa. I remember. I remember doing games of Adrian Claiborne. Never came off the field. Had some good years in Atlanta, I believe.
He did, yes, in Atlanta, yes.
So
he's busy. He stays busy on the field. I like his.
Here's the whole thing with the Browns, and this is, I just can't wait to see Baker Mayfield
with Kevin Stefanski.
Yes, and Baker Mayfield came out a day or two talking about how it's Jarvis Landry and OBJ's year, and it's up to him. And I'm, the only thing that I worry about with Baker Mayfield is, what is this? His 3rd coach in 3 years coming up, right? So Kitchens.
Well,
who was the first one?
Freddie, the great Hugh Jackson.
We had Baker.
The great Hugh Jackson. Yes, don't you remember when Hugh got fired? Baker lit him up.
Oh yeah.
And he wouldn't shake his hand, and
So
Hugh didn't really look at him as an option in training because why would he had Tyrod Taylor?
Everybody gets on Baker Mayfield, and because he potentially, but in fairness, I mean, the one thing in common with great quarterbacks is there's stability, right?
Yeah.
There's stability with you can go to New England, there's stability. How about Sean Payton and Drew Brees? Stability. Ben Roethlisberger and Mike Tomlin, stability. Had Bill Cowher before that. That's all stability, man. And the one thing that stunts the growth more than anything else in a quarterback, to me, is the constant change of new offense, new players, new players. I mean, that's very difficult for a young guy to overcome. So hopefully, the patience of Jimmy Haslam will be there for Kevin Stefanski. And I understand why he fired Freddie Kitchens, but I don't understand why he hired him.
No, I don't either. It's just
You listen to the inmates. The inmates are running the asylum. That's what Wayne Fonts used to say. I'm the warden. You're the inmates. The inmates are running.
I guess. I don't know. John Dorsey. Well, they'll just pin that on John Dorsey.
Okay.
I have a low-cost pass rushing option for you as stand-in Andrew Berry, GM of the Cleveland Browns. I have a 34-year-old who will come considerably cheaper than Jadeveon Clowney, who played 13 games last year, just like Clowney did. But this gentleman had 8 sacks. And his dad is a Browns legend. Clay Matthews Jr., released by the Los Angeles Rams.
Give him for minimum.
You wouldn't pay Clay Matthews Jr. $5 million a year?
No.
No?
D-U-N.
D-U-N, Mr.
Done.
Spielman. He had 8 sacks last year.
Ah.
He had 5 more than Clowney.
No,
You're getting him as a
I just
rotate. So you keep Vernon. The option would be you keep Vernon and you add Clay Matthews. So you have a fresh Clay Matthews who you throw out there with a fresh Claiborne. Those are your two rotational guys after Vernon and Garrett.
you got me intrigued. I'm all in on Clowney. I don't care. I'm all in on Clowney.
See, I think the problem with for me is Vernon is. Is it accurate to say Vernon is more durable than Clowney?
Yes.
Okay, so I got Vernon, who I know will be there, and if I could keep Vernon fresh with Claiborne and Matthews.
I'm not getting the production
Okay.
for $15 million.
Okay.
Are you getting a $15 million production?
No,
player?
not at all. Not at all. But you overpay for guys like that.
Yeah, you do, but you got to get some type of production.
Yeah.
And look, Jadeveon Clowney, the one thing we talked about is he immediately makes everybody better. And the future and the best guy is Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett puts more fear in offensive linemen than Jadeveon Clowney. I'm not saying it's a wide margin, but Myles Garrett is your future and your star, right? Myles Garrett's a beast, man.
He is. He had the highest win rate on pass rush last year of anybody in the NFL.
He is superb. And
you have any concern about him being mentally impacted and that translating into his play from his ignominious exit from the game last year?
Say that word.
Ignominious.
Which
means not good.
Yeah.
Ugly. Embarrassing.
Yeah.
Shameful.
I know.
Hitting poor Mason Rudolph over the head with his own helmet.
I think that Myles has learned a valuable lesson, including when to speak and when not to speak. I think the players will represent him and bring him back. I would be surprised if there's a hangover effect from his pass rush ability, from his playing ability.